This video will change how you see the entire story of Mob Psycho. Mob is a 14-year-old boy with the power to rule the world, yet he chooses to run instead. Why is that? And what is the real truth behind Mob's dark form? We're going to show you the dark side of Mob Psycho, the truth that no one talks about, and by the end of this video you'll realize that Mob is actually one of the greatest heroes that anime has to offer. And we're finally going to give him his flowers. The truth is, I've seen Mob Psycho 100 a lot of times, and it's by far one of my favorite series ever. It's a funny, action-packed story with great animation, and a unique art style, and some really good songs. Created by the mangaka One, the same guy who made One Punch Man, the story centers on Kageyama Shigeo, aka Mob. He is a 14-year-old middle schooler who is extremely reserved and unexpressive, like me when that DJL song comes up. Now, on the surface, there's nothing special about Mob, just an ordinary student who's not particularly smart or athletic for that matter. Even his younger brother Itsu is more out there and has better grades than he does. But that's all on the surface, because Mob is actually a very powerful psychic, or Esper, as they're known in the show. Mob has a wide array of abilities like telekinesis, spiritual awareness, exorcism, barrier creation, flight, and even strength and speed enhancement, making him able to perform near light speed feats and so many others. I would argue that Mob is the most powerful person in his entire world. The boy is just that broken. He also has a boss or mentor figure named Reagan, who is a con artist and fake psychic who uses Mob's abilities to make money and then pays Mob 2 cents on a dollar. Although he is great at giving advice and life lessons that help Mob a lot. Mob works with Reagan to exorcise bad spirits and drum up business for his master. And for most of the show, Reagan lies to Mob about having similar psychic abilities. But the funny part is, even though Mob is clearly powerful beyond reason, Mob does not give a damn about having all his abilities. In truth, he actively tries to suppress it. Mob is a child who constantly keeps a lid on his emotions and doesn't want it to go haywire. And as each episode progresses, we see a counter that counts from 0 to 100. This progression details how Mob feels one emotion from 0 to a 100% expression. Let's say the emotion is anger, and Mob starts the day at 0% anger. And then something along the day will happen that will make his anger spike from 0 to 20, then to 50, and then finally to 100. That's not so complicated, and not at all different from the average human, right? The main difference with this phenomenon is that the increase in emotional percentage severely increases the output of Mob's psychic abilities as well as its capabilities. So Mob at 0% anger is significantly less powerful than Mob at 100%. As a matter of fact, Mob at 100% anger is basically an explosion of psychic rage that is crazy to see. And he has this experience with different emotions. Like he can go from 0 to 100% sadness or shame, getting carried away, and even positive emotions like kindness or courage. There was even a time when Bro had 1,000% gratitude. And there he gave his abilities to his master, who uses it in a very funny but impactful scene. So in a nutshell, Mob is an emotionally complicated Esper that gains or loses power based on his emotions. Mob first started to hold back his abilities and his emotions because he had a crush on a girl, Tsubomi. He tried impressing her with the things he could do, but eventually he found out that she did not care about his power, because sure, you can be the most powerful man in the world, but do you have rock-hard abs and muscles? That's the real question. His interaction with Tsubomi made Mob realize that psychic abilities are not all that. If you don't have real substance to you as a human, and you're unable to stop relying on your Esper powers to make you special, then you're just an average Joe. But there's something else that happens to Mob that's very, very interesting, and it's honestly the reason for this video. And that is, whenever Mob faces severe physical trauma, he transforms and becomes a being shrouded in dark clouds and powerful psychic energy. Its percentage of emotions is usually in 3 question marks. Throughout the show, the being doesn't even have a name, it doesn't speak, it's ominous and powerful, and we don't really know exactly what it is. Eventually, we get some information about its nature. This being is all of Mob's emotions unrestrained, his subconscious alter ego that is let loose on the world. As I said, the reason why we have the 100% counter on Mob's emotions in the first place is that Mob keeps a very tight lid on his emotions. He suppresses his feelings in an almost unhealthy degree, and that's why he is unexpressive both in his demeanor, desires, and even in his relationship with his family. We see in the story Mob's hesitancy to use psychic powers. The only time we ever really see him freely use his abilities is when he's working with Reagan on his day job or when he's defending himself or his family. And that's where the issue of Dark Mob comes from. It's a personality that was created by his decision to use his powers less or not at all, thereby amassing a sort of alter ego with strong emotions that takes over his body whenever Mob has severe physical trauma that renders him unconscious. The crazy thing is, whenever Dark Mob comes out to play, there's always hell to pay. Now, the fact that a young boy of 14 suppresses his emotions so much that his feelings have developed their own personality might seem like a bad thing. After all, we live in a world where expressing your emotions is a really good thing, and it's heavily encouraged. But I'm here to tell you that Mob suppressing himself to the extent that he has is the best decision he made throughout the entire series. As a matter of fact, not only is it the best decision he ever made, but with his noble act of holding back, Mob became the greatest hero in his entire world. Matter of fact, in his entire universe. And no matter how you look at it, suppression was the best route Mob could have taken with the immense power that he was blessed with. Now I hear you saying, that doesn't make any sense. The story made it seem like it wasn't a good thing. Mob himself was not living a fulfilled life that he could have been living if he had chosen to use his abilities. And you're right. For a very long time, due to his years of self-imposed restrictions, Mob was living life passively. We barely ever got to see Mob laugh throughout the entire series, nor did we ever really see him healthily express his emotions. That's no load to put on a child, and you're right. But ladies and gentlemen, I can confidently say that this was the only way, simply because the amount of destruction that Mob can cause is honestly immeasurable. I don't think we fully understand just how broken his powers are and the amount of damage he can do. Take Dark Mob, for example. In the entirety of the story, this form surfaces about what? 4 times? 3 times on screen and once off screen? And in all those times, Dark Mob was extremely problematic. To really get why this is the case, you must understand just what psychic abilities are in the first place. In Season 2, we meet Mogami Keiji. He was once a powerful Esper who turned evil due to bad circumstances, and then he turned into an evil spirit that started causing a lot of problems after his death. He was legit killing people and possessing a young girl just so he could punish a bunch of psychics. Mob goes into the girl's mind via astral projection because, of course, he can do that. And when he confronts Mogami, the evil spirit explains that psychic powers come as a result of human emotions. Basically, Espers are conversion machines that can convert emotions into psychic energy, which they can then shape and use as they see fit. Now, while all emotions are powerful in their own right, the negative emotions such as anger, hate, and sadness are a lot stronger and give a much more powerful expression to the Esper that wields it. And we see this play out with Mob a lot. Mob's dark form first surfaces when he and his younger brother Ritsu were being bullied by a bunch of high schoolers, and when Ritsu and Mob got really hurt, the form came out. While we did not see what the altercation looked like, we saw the aftermath. The high schoolers were on the floor in a pool of blood, and even Ritsu was extremely hurt. Mob's emotional suppression and hesitancy to use his powers went on another level from that point on. In a lot of ways, that was when he truly became Mob. The next time we saw the dark form was during his battle with Teruki Hanazawa, who is another Esper with an inferiority complex. He strangled the pacifist Mob, who had no interest in fighting, until the Mob passed out, and when he did, Dark Mob came to the surface. The destruction was incredible. Not only was the power between them incomparable, but Dark Mob also absorbed psychic energy from Hanazawa and his environment. It didn't take long before the school was in shambles, and Teruki was thrown into the skies, forced to come to terms with how average he was. But after all was said and done, Mob woke up to the extent of the destruction he had caused, which made him feel 100% sadness. We also saw Dark Mob during Mob's battle with Mogami Keiji, where the former psychic trapped Mob in a sort of mental world, and then sent a bunch of evil spirits after Mob, and after Mob managed to release his hold on the spirits, they all started attacking him, to the extent that Mob's mental form was removed. And all that was left was Dark Mob, and his mere presence immediately removed every single enemy within its vicinity. Like it wasn't even a competition. Keep in mind that extremely powerful Espers came to face KG, and he beat them all. KG is probably the most powerful dark spirit ever, and it was no match for Mob. This brings us to the final time we saw Dark Mob. This time, Mob was on his way to see Tsubomi to let her know about his feelings for her, but on his way there, he got hit by Truck-kun while trying to save a young child. But instead of being transported to another world, Dark Mob was transported to our world. And this is where you truly see the destruction this entity is capable of. I mean, just stepping on the ground alone was enough to break the pavement and cause an earthquake-level vibration that destroyed buildings and properties. It was so bad that the area where Dark Mob was sighted had evacuation orders because there was no way a regular human could survive that. But the part that should make you worried is that some of the most powerful espers that we've seen in the story pulled up, and none of them were a match for this being. Even the former boss of Claw, Toichiro Suzuki, who spent 20 years stockpiling psychic energy and had dozens of espers under his belt, enough to literally take over the world, could do nothing to stop Dark Mob. And it wasn't even Toichiro alone that faced Mob. It was the man and his son, Sho, who is also a powerful esper. And even with that much power, they were no match for Mob. Now what does that tell us? It tells us that Kageyama Shigeo is far more powerful. From what the story suggests, the full extent of his powers is limited only to his emotions and his imagination. Mob is basically a god, and he can do anything. Now ask yourself this, is that the kind of power you want to leave in the hands of a child? We saw the level of destruction that Dark Mob did at the end of the series. He destroyed a big chunk of the city. He literally started a hurricane that not even the umbrella guy, Sherizawa, could come close to. And he's a really strong esper. The technologies of man are also ineffective because we saw a military plane try to get close until it had to retreat. I say this to say, on the level of power alone, Mob is unmatched in his world. He has what it takes to be a world leader and rule humanity. It wouldn't even take much for people to start following and revering him. For a good chunk of the story, we saw the Psycho Helmet religion actively trying to find and make him their new leader. When someone has that much power, it will not take long before that religion spreads to more and more people. Countries will bow to him. Nations might fight against him. It could potentially be disastrous for everyone on Earth. But that's just the societal consequences that would have happened to the world if Mob's power was left unchecked. Imagine the effect it would have on poor Kageyama Shigeo. Mob would have an experience similar to a child actor syndrome, where a young child gets exposed to fame, status, and money from a young age, and now has to deal with adult responsibilities instead of growing up. There would be no privacy, no way to get a well-rounded upbringing, Mob wouldn't be able to go to school like his peers, and there's a high chance that the boy would actually have stunted development, never truly maturing to adulthood. He wouldn't even have real friends. Almost everyone he meets will either be afraid of him or try to use him. We already saw this in his initial relationship with Dimple, and how much Reigen used him for his own selfish reasons. And this was a Mob that people underestimated because he was constantly suppressing his emotions, hence he didn't stand out. Imagine if he did. Imagine what would happen if he had more eyes on him. Now I hear you saying, that's all hypothetical. There's probably a way for Mob to use his powers and release his emotions, and not destroy the world. And to that I say you're wrong again. Because, believe it or not, we actually have another person who is just as, or even more powerful than Mob. To prove that Mob made the right call, I'm going to show you what happens when this person with a similar level of power makes the opposite choice. And I'm not talking about anyone in Mob Psycho. I'm talking about Saiki K from Disastrous Life of Saiki K. Now, I don't want to go on a tangent here, but Saiki K is a lot like Mob, in the sense that he is an overpowered esper, except he has no reservations with using his power, and he likes to keep things low-key. But to do that, bro had to use his psychic abilities to rewrite humanity. First, Saiki has naturally pink hair with antennas, so in order for him not to stand out, he rewrote the biology of every human in the world so that he would start developing different colors of hair so his hair would be seen as normal. He also made it possible for humans to heal faster from their injuries, so that in case he ever severely hurt someone, they wouldn't die. Now that might not seem like such a bad thing, but by doing that, he has probably set medical development back by God knows how long. While it is good that people heal faster, what this also means is that people will stop looking for ways to innovate in such fields, essentially slowing human progress. Breakthroughs in science have a ripple effect. An innovation in medicine can lead to an innovation in transportation, or even in sectors like governance. But humanity might never see that development because Saiki changed human biology. He also erased their memories so they could forget all sorts of things. I could go on and on about how this kid uses his powers to rewrite reality recklessly for his own convenience. Imagine what could have happened if he had made a mistake. But it's not the same for our man Mob. From all indications, it's fair to assume that Mob is as powerful as Saiki K, or at least he can also manipulate reality to a certain degree. But unlike his counterparts, Mob chose to say no to his power. Mob recognized how dangerous his power was, and he chose to lock it away. He knew he was not smart enough to wisely use his abilities, so he suppressed them. And by doing so, he protected himself, he protected his friends and family, and by extension, he protected the world from himself and the dangers that his power could bring. Yes, he suffered a lot because he ended up pushing down his emotions. He couldn't enjoy life like people his age, and he couldn't laugh and be truly happy. But that's the path of a hero. It is being responsible with your power. It is willfully taking on your own suffering to make the lives of others better. It is because of Mob's decision that he was able to meet guys like Reijin, who even though he's a con man, was able to teach Mob some good values and responsibilities with his gifts, making him promise not to ever use his powers on people. These lessons helped Mob face the likes of Claw, and he ended up helping other espers live a much better life. A life where they wouldn't have to focus on psychic abilities or their negative emotions and actually find meaning in their lives, in a positive way. Mob's decision caused him not to seek the easy route of convenience. He chose to join the Body Improvement Club to build up his own strength and stamina. All his efforts culminated in the end when his powers actually went out of control. He had enough people and had built enough genuine connections around him to pull him back to reality, to finally help him become one with his emotions. Or should I say, 100% with his emotions. Mob's story teaches us the fundamentals of making the world a better place, which is, before you try to fix or alter the things that are around you, make sure you're able to control yourself. It really did bring a smile to my face when I saw Mob laughing for the first time at the end of the series. For me, it wasn't just the laugh of a kid who had finally let himself feel again. It was the laugh of the one who had overcome adversity, an adversity created by the burden of his own potential. It was the laugh of a hero. And here's your flowers, Mob. You really are one of the best to ever do it. So let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Do you agree that Mob was a hero by choosing to restrict himself? Or do you think he could have done a better job? I really want to know what you think. Also, if you want to see more cool videos, YouTube thinks you're going to like these on your screen, so click it and find out.